Superman is finally rolling out with early screenings on Tuesday, set to fully open to anybody who's interested in going on Thursday and over the weekend. And certainly all eyes are going to be on the box office. We've seen the massive marketing push. We've seen every single influencer who's been shilling for this movie and hyped about this movie gets invited to premieres, and shocker that all of them happen to like it. I know that's weird how that works, right? It's almost like they want to get invited to the next one. But the question is, how is that going to translate? Is that word of mouth created by people who have been hyping up the movie for forever? Is that word of mouth going to translate at the box office? And right now, we're getting some box office estimates for Superman over the weekend. And if you're Warner Brothers, you want these to pick up a little bit. I'll just say it like that. Superman, the first movie in James Gunn and Peter Safran's revamped DC universe to fly around the world to at least $200 million. They better hope that it's significantly more than that. That's what I'll say. They did say to at least $200 million, which means it could be higher. They better hope it's much more than that. And I think some of the estimates we're seeing are low. I think they're almost intentionally on the low end so they can overperform them. But when you get into some of these numbers, and there's a variety of numbers, no pun intended. I guess this is Deadline, not Variety, so no pun actually. But there's a huge spread in what some of these estimates have, but let's look into what this one is saying. Superman, the first movie in Peter Safran and James Gunn's revamped DC Studios Phase 1 is opening this weekend. Talk about pressure. There's a lot riding on this movie. Yes, we know there's a lot riding on this movie. After a rapturous premiere in Hollywood on Monday night and reviews this morning of 85% certified fresh, hopefully there's no reason for anyone on the Burbank lot to sweat. Sources tell us that Superman will see at least a $200 million global start at 60,000 global screens. Where the hell did it go? Split evenly between domestic and overseas. So what they're saying is they're expecting $100+ million domestically, $100+ million internationally. I got to tell you, if it's tracking at that level, if that's what we get, and I think it'll be higher, and I'll say what I think it'll be in a little bit here, but that would be a rough start. And the reason why is because let's just compare it to, I don't know, another movie that opened this year. Captain America Brave New World. $192 million global box office start. I do think that's with an additional day, a holiday. I think the President's Day, I think may be included in that, at least domestically. But you're talking about something with around a $200 million opening. That finished just over $400 million. Okay, so they better hope these numbers desperately go up. You've got some other estimates that say domestically, they're looking at between $115 and $135 million for Superman. I personally have always felt it's going to be starting in that 130, 135, maybe a potentially little more range. Even that should be a little bit cause for concern for this movie. Captain America Brave New World opened to $90 million. You want to be doing a lot more than that based on where that movie finished, and certainly very bad word of mouth for that. Will the word of mouth be better for Superman? I think it will be better for Superman. Will it be outstanding? Will it be fantastic? We'll see once normal people start seeing this thing, as opposed to just a bunch of people that were either super fans and went to an early fan screening, or influencers who were invited and said very nice things in hopes that they'll get invited back. But as I've been talking about for the entire lead up to this thing, the reason these numbers are interesting is because if it falls in that range, there's a damn good chance that it doesn't even beat Man of Steel's opening from 12 years ago, which adjusted for inflation would be around $175, $180 million in today's money. It might not even beat Man of Steel, not adjusted for inflation, which is kind of crazy. 12 years ago, Man of Steel kicked off what would eventually become a Snyderverse with a respectable $128.7 million domestic box office opening. Now, if you look, it was actually $116 million, but that was before they added the Thursday previews. The movie releases have changed a lot in the past 10 years, and one of the things that happens is those Thursday previews get counted in towards the weekend total, whereas they didn't used to be. If you do count it, this movie opened to $128 million. James Gunn's new Superman is dangerously close to not surpassing that. And considering this movie's budget, which they say is $225 million, an additional $200 million on marketing, with a lot of sources indicating the true budget is closer to $300 million, You're talking about something that needs to significantly outperform Man of Steel just to break even. That's what we're talking about here with James Gunn's Superman. And with the early projections, which are just projections, and it could blow up, it could do incredible. But right now, this is what you're looking at. And some of the comparisons here are interesting. Pre-sales are at $20 million, which is slightly ahead of Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but behind Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So pre-sales and stuff like that, a lot can be affected by word of mouth. Certainly Quantumania was terrible. A lot of people liked Guardians of the Galaxy. But these are our comps right here. And Guardians of the Galaxy, very well received, had an incredible run, made about $850 million. That probably needs to be where this movie ends up to actually break even. But if it's more in the line of Quantumania, holy fuck, we have a problem. And I personally believe that you're going to see somewhere around $130 million domestic opening weekend and 110, 115, somewhere around that when it comes to global. And it'll end up being like a $240, $250 million start, which is much more solid, but still rather concerning. Still rather concerning for a movie that so much is riding on. I've done a review here on my channel. You can go back and watch it. I didn't really like it. I don't hate it as much as some people are out there talking about. I think it's going to be very polarizing. This is the reason they've wanted all these influencers to say really good things about this movie. That is why the marketing has been turned up to 11, $200 million on marketing for this movie. They know there's so much riding on it. There's a reason James Gunn said, well, the idea that if it doesn't make $700 million, then it's a failure, that's just crazy. The reason he's choosing that number is probably because that's where their target's at, and they're worried they're not going to hit it. How everyone else will view Superman, we'll see very, very shortly. Opens on Thursday, full weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. How will it do? That remains to be seen, but I think these are very tempered expectations. I believe it will be higher than this. I believe it will be in that $250 million global start. But when you're having these type of articles come out that are comparing this opening and predicting that it might be on par with Captain America Brave New World, you know you might be in fucking trouble because of how much is invested in this and how much is riding on the new start, a new chapter for DC.